This is the Mondo Footloose, and this is actually a 2013-2014 version. I think they're working on another one. I'd seen or heard about it at Interbike, didn't get the chance to ride it, but a lot of people just were like, wow, this thing is funky. It's a series hybrid, meaning that when you pedal, you're not actually turning a chain or a cassette or anything. You're just sort of like helping to charge the battery. And then the battery basically powers the bike completely. It does have a throttle, but it's also got kind of a funky pedal assist thing going on. This isn't how it looks normally. I just had it all folded up, and I thought this would be a good chance to show you what that looks like. You know, it's fairly narrow and compact and skinny when you do this, so you could get it onto an elevator easily. You could store it in a closet or on a train, or any compact sort of environment, and you can still sort of wheel it along like this. Okay? So it's unlike other folding bikes that sort of like scissor in half that you really can't wheel around. This one's still fairly mobile. And they do actually sell folding pedals as well, but the ones that are on it right now are just these plastic platforms that I actually like. There's a lot of good surface area for your foot. And I did weigh this a moment ago. On the website it says 48 pounds, but it's actually 50.5 pounds, so 50 and a half. And I believe it only comes in one color, but it does come in several, or one size, but it does come in several different colors, in black and white and like a couple others. So it's just interesting, really interesting. It's a good word for this. The philosophy behind it is curious. Just like some hybrid cars like the Volt, Chevy Volt, it actually has a little internal combustion motor that powers a generator and generates electricity, and then the drivetrain of that car is all electric. Well, that's the same with this, except instead of gasoline, as a human, you're eating food, and then your body is digesting that and converting it into mechanical energy to turn those pedals. So I'm going to go ahead and try to unfold this and show you what it should look like. The first thing to do is to sort of put the handlebars right up like this. I've got a little cuff that slides down like that, quick release. I'm going to tighten it a little bit like this, maybe a little bit more. There we go. And from here there's like this handle thing, sort of pull up on it like that, and then the whole frame sort of scissors down like that. Hopefully not as loud and clunkily as that, because you have two hands to do it. You push this handle back down, locks it into position. You'll notice there's this funky little kickstand here with these little arms that go down. So there isn't a regular kickstand, it's just these little finger things. And then the seat tube is the last piece here. So another quick release setup. Slide the seat up to a good height for yourself. Lock it in. And that's it. So this is what it looks like completely unfolded. The fork is carbon fiber, so that's meant to help keep it a little bit lighter. These big spokes are actually kind of like a composite plastic, so you don't have to worry about the wheels going out of true, but that might add a little weight. I really can't say versus metal spokes and metal rims. I guess the big advantage is just that they won't go out of true. Might not be as soft, and it has the same kind of flex as spokes, but again, this is all just sort of theory. I can't really say for sure. The wheel size here is 20 by 2 inches. Swabi, Big Ben, actually Big Apple. There's sort of a balloon tire here, a little bit wider. That 2-inch diameter is going to be a little bit softer when you're going around town, because these smaller wheel diameters, they tend to like fall into bumps a little bit more instead of spanning them. This has a lower attack angle than a larger wheel. It's not as efficient, don't have as much rolling momentum, but it does help to keep it compact, and it actually provides some leverage to the motor. If you have a really wide wheel, the little motor in the middle has to work harder to spin it, so this is actually beneficial to that motor, which is only a 250 watt. And they say it's like dual wound. I'm not sure if it's geared. It does make kind of a whining noise. It does have mechanical disc brakes front and rear. The front one, this looks really small. Maybe it's like 150 millimeter. It's like an Avid disc brake. And on the rear, it's definitely larger. But again, I couldn't find any markings for actual size. So I'm gonna just guess and say it's 180 on the rear there. And then again, the motor is protected by this like metal cover. And I'm not sure how that does in terms of heat inside of there. It's not an especially hot day here, sort of the evening time frame, so you know, just sort of guessing that if you live somewhere hot and this thing's really working hard, that could potentially be an issue. You've got Presta valves, and they mount really nicely. They stay straight. But I don't know how easy this would be to change a flat on. You've got like a little cover over the rear axle, and the front is also sort of covered with a little, you know, Allen wrench cover. I imagine changing a flat on this would be a real pain. And that does happen on electric bikes because they tend to be heavier, and you're riding them usually more frequently than a traditional bike if you're, you know, using it to commute. The fenders are nice, front and rear, sort of plastic, but they follow that sort of futuristic design that the bike kind of brings. And Woodman seat posts, like extra thick and pretty nice. Gionli saddle here. Felt all right when I was cruising around earlier. And then these like foam grips with lockers. I do like that. They're semi-ergonomic, and they use a trigger throttle here instead of a twist throttle, so that means that the grips really aren't compromised, and they feel a little spongier. That's nice. You know, there is no suspension on this bike, so you are going to feel a little bit more jar as you're going around town. Got the Tektro mechanical brakes. I don't think these have motor inhibitors, but the way that this bike operates is just so unique that I'm not sure that they're necessary. Got a bell. The display is removable, which is cool. So you can pop that off. And it's actually backlit LED, and it's color. This is like the only color display that I've seen on really any electric bike in America. The new Bosch system has it in Europe, but it's just really interesting all around. Really exciting in a sense too, because, you know, they're trying something a little bit different. So again, the specs on this are 250 watt dual wound motor, and then the battery that's in this rear arm is actually a 36 volt 8.2 amp hour. So I'd say this is, you know, smaller, and the range they estimate is 15 to 25 miles. I'd say, you know, it all depends on how you're pedaling, because essentially you're a charger. But you can also plug this in like other regular electric bikes. There's like a charging socket. You just sort of pop it off and plug it in. And the colors again are white, black, dark gray, and blue. Whoop. There we go. Actually, I'm just gonna pivot this up so you can see that getting the kickstand, you just sort of use these little, I don't know what you'd call them. They're kind of unique. Okay. Let's see. And there's the charging port right there under the down tube. So you can charge this with a traditional wall outlet. You don't have to just sit there and spin. And frankly, spinning on this bike isn't super comfortable. It's not smooth. It's sort of like when you push down, it's rrr, and then it's a struggle to get from halfway the rest of the way. You'll see that when I hop on and start riding. To power it up, you just press that little power button there for a couple seconds. Display does a little dance, and we've got speed, your battery level. We're almost at half right now. There's a lot of settings in here in terms of how you want to conserve power and how hard you want to pedal. I found myself, let's do sporty in terms of output. We're going to use the battery faster, but get to hear that motor a little more. And then I kind of like soft, because it's weird to pedal this, and it's kind of loud. I think that's about it. So I'm just gonna hop on. I'll start out with the throttle only. Okay. Oop. There we go. I'm activating the throttle. That got me up to like, whoa. About 14, 15 miles per hour. That's the top speed. And we're just on flats right now. You know, it's doing all right. It's kind of nice that you can operate it like this. And then as soon as I start pedaling, it automatically kicks in. now we're climbing a really steep hill. You can hear it struggling. We're losing power. We are completely stopped. Okay, couldn't make it. You know, and that is the 250 watt motor. It's rather small, so we're really pushing it to try to get up this. It does have a built-in sort of like gyroscope, I think, and it can sense the terrain you're on. So right now we're in manual mode, but there is, if we go back to, let's see, auto, it can sense the terrain you're on and give you more power to make it up a hill or less power on flats. Now the bummer about this bike is, even though I was pedaling hard, it couldn't make it up because the only thing that's really, you know, pushing the bike forward is that motor. You know, the pedals are just powering like a generator, that's it. So there is a disconnect, and it's kind of a bummer that on a hill like this, you'd actually have to like get off the bike and push it the rest of the way up because it just can't make it on its own. So that's one of the trade-offs. I really don't know how efficient that little generator is in there, but it definitely makes a lot of noise on flats, on hills, everywhere. That's kind of like ring, 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 and it's not super smooth. So it feels like a concept that still, it has some room for improvement for sure. I'm gonna hop back on and try to do a couple more shots. Well, interesting. You know, it's always cool to see innovation in a space, and this bike really goes at it. But for $4,000, it's not that light, and it didn't perform super well on the hills. It does fold pretty compact, and it looks like the future, but it doesn't really perform like the future. So I don't know. That's the Mondo Footloose. Again, this is the 2013-2014 version. There's room for improvement, definitely, and you know, I'll keep an eye out for that. And for the full review on this with pictures and all the specs, I'll see you back at electricbikereview.com.